In today's video, we're going to be replacing a leaky angle stop. You can see here that although we turned the angle stop off, there is still water that is coming from the angle stop. To ensure your angle stop is in the off position, you want to make sure that you tighten it all the way towards the right. This leak was pretty extensive, and for this reason, we had to remove the cabinetry as well as the drywall. Once the drywall and the cabinet was removed, we were able to add treatment to the studs. Even though the angle stop is off, we have to find the main water feeding the hot supply line. This is located at the water heater, so we're going to turn this to the off position. Before proceeding, you want to go to the nearest faucet and you want to turn it to the hot side. You want to make sure that there's no water coming out. Now that we've determined that the water is off at the faucet, we can go ahead and open your supply line. There may be a little bit of water that comes out. Just have a rag or a bucket nearby just to catch the excess water. So now that I know the water is off, we can go ahead and start working on the angle stop. We're also going to do the cold side. For this video, we're only going to do one angle stop. It's the same exact concept. When you're working on the cold side, whether it's your toilet or any faucet, you want to make sure that you turn the entire water off, feeding into the property building. Here I have my vice grips and my wrench. You want to have your wrench on this part or this end of your angle stop. This is going to let you hold it to give you the support while you're torquing it or twisting it off. The reason I like to use my vice grips on this portion of the angle stop is because that allows me to get it nice and tight, and I can kind of leverage it while I'm using my hands. So for instance here, I have this holding my wrench to kind of be supported against the stud. We're going to be going this way with our vice grips, but because this is being supported, pretend this is you holding it with your hand, I'm able to kind of maneuver this off very easily. Once you loosen it, you should be able to just take it off with your hand. Now there's going to be some water that's going to come out of here, kind of residual water. Just like I said, have a bucket or some type of rag nearby. This is where it gets a bit complicated depending on who you speak to. A lot of times there's a ring here that is fastened to the copper pipe. And when you're speaking to different people, some people say you have to remove it every time you work on an angle stop. Some people say reuse the old ring. Really, it comes down to the individual and what you're trying to accomplish. If you're just trying to replace an angle stop, the easiest way for you to determine if you can reuse this ring is simply by taking your new angle stop. You can twist off the end. This is the old angle stop, and what I did was I took off the end from the new one, and I'm putting it to see if the threading will match on the old angle stop. If it ties in easily, you don't have to force it, and it goes all the way down, then you can reuse the ring as well as the old portion that's going to thread onto the new angle stop. You can see here, whoever installed this angle stop, they just pretty much did the same thing. They took a newer angle stop, installed it, and just used whatever was on here, the compression ring, and kind of just tightened it like this. This is going to be a debate for you guys to figure out in the comment section. Some people say do not use plumber's tape. Some people say you need to use plumber's tape. I'll let you guys sort that out. Going back to install and removal of the angle stop, if you decide that you want to do that, you can go ahead, just put the new angle stop on, and then you would just make your connection and tighten it. It is a bit awkward when you have to tighten it, especially with your vice grips. But you can see here, I always make sure that my threading is protected. For this reason, I don't remove this, I keep it on, so that'll protect it when I tighten down my vice grips. Now that I've tightened it down, before turning the water on, you want to make sure your angle stop is in the off position. I did make sure when I tightened it that I torqued it. I make sure it's nice and tight. You don't have to overdo it. You don't want to put stress on the pipe. I'm going to turn my valve back on. And you can see here that it is no longer leaking. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to disassemble this, and we're going to replace the compression ring. How to actually remove the compression ring. It's a little bit more difficult. This is kind of the easier, quick solution. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn the water off and remove this angle stop, and then we'll start working on the compression ring. We'll follow the same procedure. Turn the supply line to the hot side off. This is generally located by the water heater in the garage. As I stated earlier, if you're working on the cold, you do have to turn the water off to the entire building, unit, property, apartment. I turn the water on here on the hot side. It has a small drip, but that's just residual that's in the line. You don't want any pressure coming out of the faucet. There may be some residual water coming out the line. Just open up your angle stop. You'll have a bucket or a rag at the bottom to catch the excess water. We're going to remove the angle stop. To remove the compression nut, we're going to have to remove the compression ring. There are many options or tools that you can use. Some people have a compression ring removal tool. What I've noticed a lot of times, especially on my videos, if somebody's new to maintenance, they don't have these tools available, so they want tools that they can utilize quickly. There are some people who have rotary tools and they're able to kind of just use the grinding wheel and kind of just tap it. I don't like this method because if you slip, if you're not familiar with how to use your rotary tool, you can end up damaging the pipe, and if you try to connect it afterwards with the angle stop and the compression ring, it'll start to leak. If you do choose this method, you want to be very careful, and you want to have a steady hand, and you want to tap it. I've seen people use a Sawzall, and they pretty much do their best to gently tap it, and they'll use their blade back and forth. Again, you run the same risk of damaging the pipe. Another quick method is by using any sort of pipe cutter, and what you'll do is you'll put the pipe cutter on, and then you'll kind of work it around, and you'll just kind of cut out the old compression ring. Again, this depends on where the angle stop is, if you have enough room where the copper pipe is proceeding from the drywall. I think the quickest method and the most efficient method is to use a manual grind sander kind of tool and kind of work it yourself. And what I'm doing is I'm just working my tool back and forth gently at a steady pace. And what that's allowing me to do is to get enough into the ring where I don't damage the pipe. Once you work it into the ring, you'll know it'll get very loose, and then you can just pull it off. Once you remove the ring, you can remove your compression nut. Now we're going to install our new angle stop. We're going to install the compression ring. The compression ring is going to be inside where the threading is. Once you pull off this nut, it'll come out. I am going to clean the pipe just to remove any sediment or debris that might get into the new angle stop. We're going to put on our compression nut. We're going to slide on our compression ring. When you install your new angle stop, you want to make sure when you push it in that it goes all the way inside, almost where it sees where it stops here in the inside. Don't put it on the tip and then try to tighten it. You want to push it all the way in. I'm going to hand tighten it, but I'm holding it, pushing it in, and I'm tightening the compression nut. Now that we got it hand tightened, I'm going to go ahead and utilize my wrench and my vice grips to torque it. Again, you don't want to stress the pipe. You still have connections you want to be careful of, especially here at the bend where the neck is. You want to hold it nice and tight, have a firm grip, and then tighten it evenly. Once you tighten it, make sure your angle stop is in the closed position. Turn your water supply back on. Now we're going to inspect for leaks. As I said, I do let the water on. I like to wait a couple of minutes before I try to connect anything to that angle stop. If this video was a help, if it was informational, please subscribe.